Happy New Year! Yes, it's a new year. It's a fresh year. It's 2021. Well, we hope you guys are ready for it, and we hope it's going to be an exciting year. Are you ready for it? Me, I'm ready for it.
Emma, have you made resolutions this year?
Have I made resolutions this year? Well, this year I was planning not to make resolutions, but by mistake, I am thinking of making one. I don't know, but yeah, do you have yours to set?
I make resolutions, and then if it happens, if it doesn't happen, like they are just there, really. But then, do you think they work?
Okay, sometimes they work. I made resolutions for 2020, and they worked in January and February, and it ended. So really, so that was the summary of the whole year.
True.
And that was it.
True.
So that is how they work. I don't know if they still work for you. Did you make for last year?
No, I stopped in 2007.
Oh, Lord,
Let's just continue.
Lord. Well, we had a chat with a few people, and let's hear what they have to say about resolutions.
Hi, my name is Judy, and yes, I have made resolutions for this year because resolutions help me to focus on achieving my goals that I have been setting the past years. So the only way I can achieve them is to set plans, which are the resolutions that I made this year.
Hi guys, Happy New Year. My name is Sarah. Oh, resolutions. I don't really make resolutions for the year. I know the new year usually comes in with excitement. For me personally, it is a real new year because my birthday comes in at the beginning of the year. So there's always an excitement about the new year, what am I going to do for this year? But I do not make resolutions for the year because I realized a resolution is more of like, you must do, you either do or you do, like, either I do or I die. So there's a lot of pressure that comes with a whole list of resolutions. But over time, I've learned to put my requests to the Lord. And usually on that 31st day of December, I write down a few things some things that I really want the Lord to help me go through for the year. And I lay them to the Lord. And that's what I do really. Not like I must do this year, I must accomplish this year. But I write a list and I'm like, Lord, this year, please, And I ask him.
Yes, my name is Arjan, as usual. Yes, I do make resolutions of recent. But before I wasn't making at all. Yeah, I wasn't making because, sometimes you feel like, why am I even making? But I realize if you do not make, at the end of the year, you realize how much you've achieved nothing. So I decided to make resolutions. Yeah, I do make resolutions.
Yes, resolutions do actually work if we are disciplined on following how we are performing at them. Because usually people focus a lot on their resolutions at the beginning of the year, and towards the end they have forgotten about them. Now, like I had a resolution of going to gym last year at the beginning of 2020, but by March everything had changed. There was lockdown and all. So it was hard for me to achieve what I wanted. But this year, I want to be more focused on my resolutions to the end of the year. So they are achievable.
Well, I do not set resolutions. So I wouldn't say that they work or they do not work. But one thing I know is my Lord works. So usually when I ask, I know that there's always an answer from the Lord. So it can either be a yes or a no or a wait. I know that is definitely the Lord's doing. So yeah, for me, that is it for me about resolutions. It's more of like, Lord, this year I am hoping for this. I am expecting this. Kindly come through for me. Not, I must do this. If not, I will not like be come about, I will not be grateful that the year has actually gone right because that resolution did not come to pass. So I simply make my list and I ask the Lord to do the needful for me.
Yes, I think resolutions work. Resolutions work because, as I've said, use them for evaluation purposes. Yeah, and it's also a sign to know, should I continue with this thing or should I leave it? Yes, should I continue? Now for me, last year I had made two resolutions. One, I decided that I have to leave home. That was one. Unfortunately, I haven't come to fulfillment of that resolution. Secondly, I decided to learn Spanish. And let me tell you, I'm good to go. I know some Spanish words, so no one can backbite me in Spanish and I cannot, Yeah, but I haven't come to the fulfillment of it, but somehow I'm somewhere. And I know this year I'm going to just add on to that. Yes. Thank you. So I would like to urge everyone, resolutions are important. They are not really useless as people may think. Yeah, because if you don't have a plan, someone will plan for your life. Yeah.
Well, that's what they had to say. Let's hear more with Pastor Dennis.
Happy New Year, and you are welcome to Youth Vibes here again. And it's a joy to have you join us always. Continue to like, subscribe, and comment on the episodes that you watch here on the YouTube channel. Today, I'm here with a friend of mine, and we are talking about the new year. So I will allow him to say something about himself, and then we will get into the discussion. Please go ahead.
Hello, everyone. Raymond Bukenya is my name. Some people call me Reverend. And yes, I'm a minister. I am a pastor. I serve at Ebenezer Chapel, where I serve as chaplain. I'm also with Kampala Diocese as a clergy coordinating discipleship. I am also an evangelist who loves to use apologetics, and I serve with a ministry called Ravi Zacharias International Ministries, global team of evangelists. I'm happy to be here and looking forward to our conversation.
Great. So Raymond, it's a new year, and with a new year comes exciting things. There is all these declarations. There is all these. We've already had elections by now.
Yep.
What should the Christian posture be about the new year? Is it something given to celebrate in the first place?
Yes, and some people would have a no to the flip side of it.
Yeah.
And some people would say Happy New Year.
Yes.
And you would wonder what they mean by happy, because that would just be for formality, because they say it and they're gone.
It's a greeting.
It's a greeting, perhaps. And on that day, say 1st January, chances are there are people who die, and it's not a happy day for them.
Yeah.
It's not a happy start to New Year, quote unquote. And the newness about it is something to be discussed, because people use the word new without necessarily paying attention to what they mean by new.
Yes.
In fact, as Uganda, we've had the tagline of some campaign group or some political party that has been using the tagline of a new Uganda.
Oh yeah.
And as you talked about elections, we've not necessarily we cannot talk about a new Uganda right now, but we know that there is a Uganda that is kind of evolving or changing, and day by day we see things that manifest as if new.
Yes.
But then as we see them, there's a sense in which some people who have lived longer will tell us we've actually seen them before. And that should help us to see, because we are younger, we are a different generation. We may never have seen them before.
So
but those that,
to us, they may look new. But
to us, they look new.
Yeah.
But to those that have been around, it's nothing new. Philosophically, it's the same stuff manifesting. It's probably just a different way.
Yeah.
And that's important to see. There are people that have said that news, what we call news, is old stuff happening to a new set of people.
Oh, great.
You get it? You get it?
Yeah.
In fact, if you listen to the writer, the preacher in Ecclesiastes, he says there's nothing new
under the sun.
Under the sun.
Yeah.
But when we talk about Happy New Year or New Year, we are talking about linear time.
Yes.
So time has changed. And scientifically, we're talking about the Earth has gone around the sun. It has orbited around the sun 365 days.
Yeah.
You understand?
So
from where it started, it has gone, because the sun orbits, goes around its own orbit, spins every day.
Yes.
Every 24 hours, it does that. And different parts of the world see the sun every day.
Wow.
Because the Earth spins. But then it does go around the sun itself. 365 days it takes to go around the sun.
Yeah.
That is a whole year. So when the Earth does that complete spin around the sun, that's a full year. And that in itself did not happen by chance. Now that is the conflict where we go, the scientists that are more inclined to atheism or not believe in God, and the scientists that believe in God get into conflict, because those who believe in God believe God designed it that way, that it would be so accurate and exact. Not 500 days, not 1,000, not 1,000,000, not 3 days, but 365.
Yeah.
Some people say it's by chance. It has to be really, really good chance that it happened that way. So, yes, so what we are celebrating, what we celebrate on 1st January is that 365 days are done and the Earth has gone around the sun.
Yes.
What it has done, it has reset another journey.
Right.
It is going to do the same thing.
Right.
Now, what happens in the 365 days is that there are seasons in which things happen. Now, those that do agriculture, those that go to school, those that do investments, those that do a lot of things, as human beings, we do things in calendar years, we do things in agricultural years, and in those seasons, things happen. Now, when the Earth resets its travel around the sun, seasons are going to happen again. It gives you an opportunity to do things that you could have done last year that you may not have done. Or if you didn't have a chance to do them, or if you tried them and they didn't work, you have a chance to see whether the season is going to be suitable this year.
Yes.
All right?
So with the new year, you have another opportunity.
You have another opportunity
to do something either differently or to rethink what you did the other year. And to...
Yeah. Or of course, to live life. There's more to life than just things you want to do. To be alive is a big thing. To do things is another thing.
Yes.
All right? So, because really, when you talk about a new year, there is doing things, there's experiencing life in itself. Yeah. And so,
That brings me to my next point. Now, with the new year comes like a chance to do something either new. There's a whole debate about resolutions. Should Christians be involved in making resolutions? Or should they just allow for things to roll out the way God has planned for their lives to be? Or in making those resolutions, aren't we making the most of what God has given us, like in terms of time? So what should then be the Christian understanding of a resolution? Should a Christian make one? And if they make one, what if it didn't happen? So what's the way forward about that stuff? Yeah.
Good question, because there are definitely people who have been making resolutions. There are people who have made resolutions. There are people I don't know. There could be those who have never made resolutions per se. But what are resolutions?
You just make up and say, today I'm going to exercise. This year I'm going to exercise. I'm going to eat healthy. I'm going to wake up early. I've been, something like that, that you make a commitment to yourself, I think, to do something either better, to challenge yourself into like a challenge or so.
I love that, because the language of to yourself, there is, the resolution comes from resolute.
Yes.
Now, resolute has to do with decision making and determination, and you added in commitment, and I think that's where it comes in. Now, decision making and determination has a sense of accountability.
Yes.
Now, being accountable to self that's one dimension of accountability. Now, resolutions, when we make them, it is risky because they have to do with accountability. It means it will include other people horizontally, but if you believe in God like me, then it will also include God. And so it goes beyond. So when I say it has to do with decision making, how do we make decisions? I can make decisions about my life, but what is my life? Okay? When I make decisions about my life, what is my life? Is my life my life, What do I mean by my life? Is life, the life I have, is it life given to me by God? And therefore, when I'm making a decision about the new year, let's say, the new set of 365 days, what does it mean for me to make those resolutions? Or what does it mean for me to be resolute about certain decisions and determinations? Okay, so when I do that, I'm going to have to make consultations or references, evaluations. What do I mean by that? Why am I being resolute?
Yes.
Why don't I just live my life?
And allow it to play out.
Yeah, because I want to do better, or I want to come out better.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's either because I didn't do well the previous year. Did I have previous resolutions? Can I evaluate them? Okay. Did I have dreams? Do I have targets that I have to achieve that I haven't achieved? Because to make new resolutions when you didn't achieve
the old ones.
Yeah, where are you putting those ones? How are you going to live life? Are you just going to, because when 2020 is done, we are not coming back to it.
Yep.
But if you were in a particular class last year and you did not pass it, some universities, in fact, I would say all universities will ask you to redo a class.
Yes. It's
okay.
Called a retake here
it's called a retake.
Yeah.
It means you haven't passed it.
Yes.
So you cannot resolve to just go ahead and say, I'm going to do better in the classes ahead, but when you've not finished the other. So there is a sense in which resolutions have, first of all, evaluation. You have to evaluate and see where you did not do well and why you did not do well. And therefore, you be resolute to do better. And that means not doing certain things and doing certain things. Okay? And so, but then there is a relationship. Okay, in terms of resolutions. Horizontally, there are other people involved in what's going on. True. There are other people involved in what's going on.
Like the family,
friends. If you're part of a church community. Yes. Now then there is God involved.
Indeed.
If you make resolutions in reference to yourself, the danger is you're going to be accountable to yourself. The risk is you're likely to be sympathetic to yourself.
Yes.
And you're likely to compromise. And that's most likely, if you evaluate yourself genuinely, that's most likely what happened in previous years.
Yes.
And so why do I come at it this way? I'm hoping that people will understand why I've done this. Is because it is one thing for me to make resolutions in reference to myself, but my life that I'm living today is not just mine.
Yes.
God created me to live a life that honors Him, to live a life for His purpose and for His glory. True. And interestingly, that life is also in community with other people, with creation. The rest of creation, not just even other people. There are other people. If you go back to the Garden of Eden, Adam wakes up in the morning and God has given him responsibility in the Garden of Eden. And the Garden of Eden represents creation and in also relationship with his wife. And the two of them fail in God-given assignment, and they come up with their own, perhaps you will say, resolution.
Yes.
To know good and evil without God being involved.
Yes.
Or to be as God, even when they were created in the image of God, in His likeness.
They wanted to be as God.
Yes, so they get guidance on how to do that without reference to Him or accountability to Him, and that's dangerous. So why do I give that background to it? Is because it's okay to make resolutions, but to exclude God out of them, or to put God secondary to them, or to make them and then say, I've made them, now God have. Which is actually, if you make them and say, God, I've made them, they're here, they're subject to your will. Yeah. If there is any that I've made that you find not in your will, please remove it, edit it. Yes. If you take them that way, fine. But if you take them and say, God, I have made them, I must achieve them, you are in trouble because you're going to be disappointed. I think, I don't know, have you made resolutions before?
Oh yeah, I tried to, but I wasn't too disciplined. Like I was saying, committing to yourself when you don't make them up or when you don't fulfill them, there is no one to hold you accountable.
Absolutely.
So you are soft on yourself.
Absolutely.
And that has been my fate.
Absolutely, because you have to be
just looking
resolute,
back, yeah.
resolute
Yeah.
decision making. And you've heard about resolution. Companies make resolutions. They meet in boardrooms and they make resolutions.
Yes.
And so everyone is accountable to the resolution you made together. You must all abide by it.
Yes.
So there is a sense in which, as a human being, you are accountable to God. In prayer, as a Christian, if you prayerfully seek God's guidance, there are things He's going to guide you about.
Yes.
Some of them will come out of who you are naturally, what your desires are. That's why the Bible asks us to present our desires, our heart's desires before the Lord, and He will grant them to us. Now, granting them to us also is dependent on whether they are in His will and to His glory.
Yes.
Because many of our heart's desires are totally way out of line. Okay? So that's very important to note. So, have you dared to be like Isaiah when Isaiah calls us, when God says, "Come, let us reason together"?
Yes.
There's been a year called 2020 which has been rough and tough
Wow.
and
Yeah.
beaten everybody.
Yes.
So you're fearing or you're struggling to make resolutions for 2021. Come, let us reason together. Come, let us make a plan for 2021 together. And He says, if you are obedient, you will enjoy the good of the land. But if you're stubborn and disobedient, you might be the one to be enjoyed. So I think it's okay to make resolutions.
Yeah.
It's okay to be resolute. It's okay to make a decision and say, last year I was complacent.
Yes.
Last year, because of last year was a very digital year. Last year we were so isolated. Last year we had a lot of access to the internet by virtue of
Being locked down.
being
at
locked
home,
down,
yes.
and all the telecommunication companies gave us a lot of data deals. Last year, I had a lot of time on my screen, and I didn't have control. Last year, I may have gone onto the wrong websites. Last year, I may have, made wrong decisions. This year, Lord, I don't want to go that direction. I would love not to. I need your help.
Yes.
For you to say this year, sigenda bikola ngesimu chargirina,
Yes.
when you still have the capacity to get data
Yes.
on your own,
No, you can't.
it's not easy.
Yeah.
You need people to be accountable to. You need, above all, you need a vertical accountability. You need God. So resolutions, whether to achieve or to not to do stuff, need accountability. Therefore, there is human responsibility and divine sovereignty.
I was actually coming to that. Should we make our plans and then ask God to come and figure Himself out in our plans, or should we turn to God and say, God, what would you have me do this year? So, but I like the idea of come, let us reason together.
Yes.
It looks like it's an approach which takes care of both sides.
Yeah.
But just develop that thought a bit more into divine sovereignty, that
Yes.
God does what He wants whenever He wants to do whatever He wants, and then human responsibility.
Yeah.
Should we say because God does what He wants, therefore let's just sit back and watch Him do it, or should we, make practical steps towards improvement?
One of the things that God has done in His sovereignty is create human beings and place us in this world. That's God's sovereignty.
Yes.
We totally forget that. That it's God's sovereignty to give us the faculties that we have. You understand? It's God's sovereignty to give us the ability to dream, to even envision the future,
Yes.
to think about the future, to do scientific discoveries. It's God's sovereignty.
Even the time that like
it's
the
God's
season,
sovereignty
like you
to
mentioned, the
give
sun
us
and everything. Yeah.
that. It's only those who think that it's their responsibility or it's their prowess that gives them access into the unknown. But I believe, for me, it's God's sovereignty.
True.
Our responsibility then is, if I would use the example of a farmer or, someone who does agriculture. You see, God gives rain. God gives the seasons. God makes grow, actually. But God does not till the ground.
You have to till the ground.
God does not plant seed.
Yes.
No.
You plant the
You
seed.
must plow the ground.
Yes.
You must plant seed. You must weed. You must harvest. You must build barns and store. He doesn't do that for you.
Yes.
He is sovereign,
Fine.
but He doesn't do that. In His sovereignty, He has created you and given you the ability
to
do that.
plant a seed.
Yes,
Yeah.
that is his sovereignty by doing that.
Yes.
Now, your responsibility in honoring his sovereignty, you have to do what he has given you to do. And that's why he would have created you like anything. You see, let's say the human sovereignty over this building is to put a pillar like that.
Yes. Right.
So strong like that. The responsibility of a strong pillar like that is to hold that building like that, to serve the purposes of the sovereign, quote unquote, human being for the purposes of this building. Bring that back to the realm of our discussion, is that God in his sovereignty creates a human being, gives him all the abilities to do a lot of things, not just agriculture, but even scientific discovery. Yeah. When you find how to put spaceships in space to get you information, deliver it on Earth, to use it for enhancing and bettering human life, it is not for evil. It is for God's glory. But of course, as fallen human beings, we get it. We think, oh yeah, we are now better. We can beat God. We don't need God. We are advancing, very fast. We can do this and that. We forget it, and so we begin to make resolutions that do not include Him.
Yeah, just to bring that up a little bit, there is people who are angry, I should say, at God, and they said last year we were here in the overnight praying. Asking God for 2020, and look at how it has gone. Therefore, this year, I won't even raise my expectation and say, God, this year is my year of breakthrough and deliverance. Just to think about those kinds of people, what would be a response to that? That I am not trying to involve God in this thing as I did last year, because last year I did and things worked out in the way that they did. So what would be the response to such? Like, they went through a lot last year, and this year they feel like we should just try it on our own and not,
First of all, this is going to be a bit insensitive. God does not respond to tantrums.
Yes.
Okay, so if you throw tantrums over 2020, can I say you haven't seen the worst yet? Because 2020 is not the worst year in life. We don't know what's coming tomorrow. Before 2020, are you saying there were no years we thought were really bad? Are you saying that?
Yeah.
You know that 2001, September 11th was a bad year in the US? And it will not be forgotten. They remember that year. Before that, we know years in the past.
Yeah.
We know in 1918, we know the other, we had other pandemics before 2020.
Yes, the
and
Ebola
so,
even.
even Ebola recently. So before we talk about 2020 and then begin to throw tantrums, we need to be careful. The other thing is that, hey, wait a minute. Who said that God does things just because we spent time in an overnight?
Well, there is a prophetic something going around, and
no way. The thing is that, which overnight did we first have for God to create us? I think if we first go back and realize that God gave us life before we had an overnight, then our overnights will be a little more, or rather less myopic. Because if our overnights are about what we want God to do for us, that's dangerous.
Yes.
And if you will allow me, let me just give you a picture of, say, my end of 2020. I prayed like everybody. I just didn't go to an overnight. I had 7 pages. I wrote down not 7 full pages, but I opened different pages and I wrote down things that I was hoping that I would see. I'll put my efforts to in 2020. One of them was that I wanted to learn to play a keyboard, because then my left hand worked well. Okay, so yes, I plan to buy a keyboard, put it home, and then find someone whom I would bring home to help me learn the keyboard, and then I would teach my kids.
Yeah.
That was the plan, and it wasn't going to take me too long. Yeah, that dream was shattered or postponed on 28th January 2020. Okay? Did I pray about it? Yes. It was among the things I prayed about that night. Okay? Did God say He's not going to grant it? I don't think that's what He said. Did he say it's not in his will? Maybe. Is he saying wait? Maybe. Are my kids playing keyboard? Yes.
Oh, wow, they are. Wow. Okay.
All right. So yeah, I bought a keyboard for my kids and they're playing keyboard now. They're learning. Okay. It's a different thing altogether. If you go to an overnight and pray and they tell you sow a seed, you can sow that seed any day if you have to. And who told you that you have to sow a seed? Let me even put a pin in this bubble. It's okay to sow seed if you have to, if you feel God calling you to.
Mm-hmm.
But God owes you nothing.
He's not obligated to show up in a particular way because you sow the seed.
There's nothing God is going to do just because you sowed the seed. I promise you. God is going to do a lot of things.
But by the sowing seed means giving money to a particular.
Yeah, that's the issue.
Yes.
Yeah, just because you gave, just because you came to church, just because you sang well, just because you preached well,
and there's a 40-day
just because you prayed a long prayer,
and
is not grounds for God to do what He has got to do. The reason why God does, read Revelations, God does what He does because it's His will, to His glory, for His pleasure.
Wow.
That's why He created you first of all. Now, you're better off coming under that than sowing seeds and spending a lot of time in an overnight and then trying to hold Him accountable.
Right.
So that's my take. And I'm not the standard to this. So don't go and say, Raymond said this, therefore that.
Yes.
And they're going to tell you to sow seeds. So you sowed it.
Right.
And then and then 2020 turned out that. So who is to blame? God?
Or the sowi here.
Is it the sowi,
or the
ground,
or the
the one who makes seed grow?
Wow.
Ochitegera. And ngogendo blaming. Was the weather not good? Does COVID stop God from making your seed produce fruit? If it was a job that you were believing for, how does COVID interfere with your seed? If your seed was powerful, which is powerful? Is it the seed or
the
God?
one who makes it grow? And
Yeah. So anyway, for me, if there is a lesson that I learned from last year, God is greater. There's no such a thing as a great year or a great seed or an amazing whatever faith.
This is your year.
There's nothing like your year. It is God's year, the year of the Lord. That's why when Jesus is coming to announce, He does not announce the year of your favor. It is the year of the Lord's favor.
Right.
It is not the year of your favor. It is the year of the Lord's favor. And that's why, for me, there is nothing like a great year. It is a great God. As long as you believe and trust in a great God, life will move. Me who has lived and served in Karamoja, I'll tell you, those people, there are people that I saw, they're not as smart as you are, but for them, they are okay. You're finding it hard to dance in church, but they are dancing and sweating.
Yes.
And they are singing a song of jubilation to God.
Right.
Why? Because it's not about the material. It is not what you see. Our resolutions are more about the things we don't yet have. And they overcrowd us, they shadow us, they overcrowd us from listening and seeing the things that God has done. Wow. And when we are dreaming, not that we shouldn't make them, no, but if we make them and we don't pay attention to God, we risk highly. Wow. Risk highly.
Wow, right. I meant to understand this year has been not this year. Last year was something else. But I hope as you are looking forward to this year, may everything we share here be a reflection for you as the year begins. That look here, this is actually God's year. And if I'm to make any resolution about it, I'm going to pitch it on who God is and what He has to do. And if I make any resolutions about this year, I will make them editable. I will hold them with a lesser grip than trying to hold on to it with a very firm grip, and then ending up disappointed. So think about these words and learn. I guess I could say God is taking us through a season of humility. You know, it's time for us to be humble and to ask God, what are you doing and how can I participate in it, versus us trying to make up our own, our own minds to that. Raymond, we're going to close with that.
Absolutely. I think for me, it's that scripture in Matthew chapter 7, build your house on the rock. You know, everyone who hears these words of mine and does them will be like a wise man who built his house on the rock. And the rain fell and the floods came and the winds blew and beat on the house, but it did not fall because it had been founded on the rock. And everyone who hears these words of mine and does not do them, those are Jesus' words, and does not do them, will be like a foolish man who built his house on the sand. And the rain fell, and the floods came, and the winds blew, and beat against the house, and it fell. And great was the fall of it. Believe me, the circumstances are the same, but the foundation, or where we place our resolutions, it could be wrong. It matters. So, this whole year, you could be building something, because our resolutions are trying to build something. Our resolutions are trying to come up with something about our lives.
Right.
Don't try to build on sand. Don't put your resolutions on sand. Put your resolutions on the rock, and they will be firm. When the rains come, when the winds blow, when the storms come, hey, you remain standing. Right. And your resolutions will remain standing. And even if you don't finish them this year, chances are he who started it, on whom you place them, will help you accomplish them later on. Why? Because for him, he's not linear. He's eternal. He's not necessarily saying, hey, hiya, 2021, we have not finished this one, Natanko panicking. And no, he's not looking at time that way. He doesn't operate in the confines of 365 days. No. He's at work in this world, in this time, but he is at work eternally and in you. And he's not done with you. Just because the year has ended, he's not done. Just because it is 11:59 on a Thursday night, and then it turns to 00, and it's a new year, 1st January, Friday, and all of us, yeah, it's a new year. God is like, yeah, I knew that already. Like, which new year, by the way? Who counts years? It's not a year for him. It's not a new year for him. It's a new year for us. Right. It's an experience. It's not for him. So please, and do make resolutions for 2021. Don't fear. The only reason you will fear to make resolutions is because of where you had placed your resolutions last year. But if your resolutions, if you placed them on the Lord last year, you'll be confident as you place them on him this year.
Right. Thank you so much for joining us, and do stay tuned for more. God bless you.
Bless you.
Emma, that spoke to me.
Yeah.
That spoke to me. To know
True.
that you make resolutions, and at the back of your mind, you know that if God comes and says, "Paul, go this direction," you take it up without complaining.
True.
Knowing that somewhere, somehow, in there, he's going to be like, no, this is best. Not the better that Paul has at the back of her mind. So it did speak to me. I hope it spoke to you and everyone out there.
Yes.
I hope you are keen to listen.
Yeah. And right before we go into the creative booth, make sure your resolutions are really flexible. They are, once God comes into it, allow him, just welcome him. Yeah. So do share, like, comment, and tell us what you think. Yes.
Yeah. Otherwise, I've been your host, Paul.
And Emma.
Yeah, we'll see you guys in the next episode.
Feel like giving up. More follow all the rules. I wonder, could I ever be enough? 'Cause I tried and I tried just to fall back down again. And I ask myself, why do I try to chase the wind? I should lean into the mystery. Maybe hope is found in the melody. So I'm gonna try again. Oh, I'm gonna try again. Lead me to the cross where your love poured out. Bring me to my knees, Lord, I lay me down. Read me of myself, I belong to you. Oh, lead me to the cross, to your heart, to your heart. Lead me to your heart. Lead me to your heart. Lead me to the cross where your love poured out. Bring me to my knees, Lord, I lay me down. Read me of myself, I belong to you. Oh, lead me to the cross. 'Cause I tried and tried just to fall back down again. And I ask myself, why do I try to chase the wind? I should lean into the mystery. Maybe hope is found in the melody.